Hello and welcome to A Moment's Portal, a podcast where members of the Global Innovation Gathering share stories on global innovation. I'm Daniela Marzahan.
And I am Stange, and together we'll be hosting this 8th episode, taking you with us to a moment in the work and life of Pradita Pradhan. Daniela, we have Pradita.
Amazing.
From Nepal.
Kathmandu, I know her, of course, from our network, but I don't know so much about the good stories.
Well, I guess we're about to find out. So, Pradita, could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, hi. Hi, Star and Daniela.
Hi.
It's really nice to be sitting here talking to you guys and also being able to share some of the stories. So, yeah, I am Pradita Pradhan from Kathmandu, Nepal. And while talking about my background, I have an electronics and communication background, basically, and did my master's in MBA IT. Mm-hmm. And after my graduation, after my engineering, I started a project co-founded, basically, a project called Miss in Technology, Miss Tech, which was mainly focusing, basically to empower women in tech.
Nice.
And parallel to that, after slowly I got a chance I'm now actually working as a program manager with Field Ready, which is a humanitarian organization. And
we heard about Field Ready in another
Yes,
podcast.
we did. So we're very interesting to know about Field Ready.
So basically, it's a humanitarian organization and started working in Nepal after the 2015 earthquake, which was a really, devastating time for Nepal. The focus is around, local manufacturing. But we are quite focusing right now at the moment, we're focusing on local, a capacity building. And together with, then it was Nepal Communautaire. Now it's Impact Hub Kathmandu. So Field Ready and Impact Hub Kathmandu, we together were able to bring in the first ever FabLab in the country, which I'm also co-leading the lab at the moment and trying to build this skill development, capacity building. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do at the moment. So that's
amazing.
Me.
That's fantastic because I know people from Nepal Communautaire. I know Bahar. I think she's just a very lovely person. And our first question to you is, when did you truly feel carried by the Global Innovation Gathering?
So initially, when we were trying to get FabLab to the country, we were struggling with the customs, and it was, I think, right before the pandemic. And at that time, we were still trying to build capacity locally. We did have a couple of digital fabrication and tools, equipment, but not as many as FabLab does. But then we still were trying. And that time, we organized a workshop. And it was called Humanitarian Design Challenge, where it was around, design thinking, and people or participants would have to work on their ideas around basically humanitarian or, something around accessibility or anything. It could be around that sector, right? The ideas could be. And that's when, we also had, parallelly, we got a funding from Careables. And we had an exhibition there in Nepal. Unfortunately, we could not bring in people from outside Nepal because of the pandemic itself. But we had really good exhibition. It was for a month long. And that was an exposure to so many people around open source. Many people did not know about open source. That's an eye-opener. After a project that I mentioned in the beginning around Humanitarian Design Challenge, so participants at the end of the project, they actually were asked to, if it's okay with them, they were free to upload it in the open source. And it was amazing because all of them did. And also along with that, not just the open source, but also the process of documenting the designs, basically. That was something, we got help from this group of people, right? So that was something has added so much value to what we are doing at the moment. So yeah, that's something that's the starting point. And it's been a pleasure working at that point. And it's we've had so much lesson learned.
Tell us more about Careables.
Yeah, so basically Careables is a platform where we can find healthcare devices or designs related to healthcare where, if I'm working on a, let's say, design that's related to healthcare sector, that's something, or accessibility, that's somewhere I would go, right? So I would like to connect this to the project that I mentioned earlier where the whole theme of the project was around humanitarian designs. So we downloaded designs from this platform basically, and then the students worked around the design. And so how they worked was an interesting part where the students or the participants actually went to different, let's say, they had this pen holder design with, so they downloaded the design, they printed it, and they moved around to different hospitals. There is a hospital called SIRC, where it's basically for the people who have accessibility or, difficulty in moving around. So went to the hospital to try out the device actually, and it was difficult. Then the design thinking part started. They questioned, they had like interaction with the patients, and they got to know like what would best suit for them. And then they came back and iterated the whole design, and after like 2 iterations they had a different design which was modified and was useful for the local context.
I want to clarify one thing. So the participants of this humanitarian design process that you led basically went to the platform, to Careables. They detected probably upfront some problems. They went to the platform, got some inspiration, downloaded some of the designs that fitted maybe to the solution they envisioned. And they went straight into prototyping and testing and getting feedback from the user. So you had like 2 or 3 rounds of prototyping and iterating.
Yes, that's very true.
Amazing.
That's...
And Careables is a platform that is part of Global Innovation Gathering.
Yes. So
amazing.
That's an awesome story. And now we're going to go to the next question, which is, when was it obvious to you that innovation can be made in Nepal?
Actually never thought about this in this manner basically. I've seen, because like my father, he is also an engineer himself. I've seen him working, and the one specific memory that I have is where we have this festival of lights called Tihar basically. And at that time, there are like basically the electric lights. We hang it around the house. It's like, the house is lightened up. And that time, I have a specific memory that where, there was one of the wire, it was not working. He was like literally working around it, and still he joined it, but then could not. The light was still not working, but it took him around a couple of minutes, but then he made it. And then the entire house was lighting up. And what he did to, basically he did not have the tool. What I'm trying to say here is he actually just, used, I don't remember, it was some sort of like a bamboo stick or something to hold it together. That is not a clear memory, but it was something like that. It was not a tape or anything, like normal things that we actually use.
Which was improvised.
Yes, he just improvised. So I think innovation is something everywhere that exists everywhere. You give them different terms, but every house, every people has come up with different innovations on their own. It could be a really small thing around, but still, like even, for example, I might want to, write something, but I might not have a pen. What I do is I might, just I've done it one time, like I wanted to note out something and I just found a stone and then, started scribbling on the floor. So that was an innovation for me for that very time, right? So I think innovation is something like, is everywhere. It is something I would like to say.
Yes. Well, that's true. It's everywhere. And even though you don't think you've innovated something, a lot of people have. We're going to go to the question we love asking the most. So in your whole journey with your projects, with collaborating with GIG and all these other international organizations, who would not be surprised that you've done this?
It's again a difficult question.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I can help a little bit.
Yeah, I think I will need help. Yeah.
Pradita, your story is really interesting. It starts with missing technology. It starts with empowering women in tech. Then you went through a very difficult time, the earthquake in 2015 in your country, Nepal, moving towards a humanitarian organization with Communautaire, later co-founding the FabLab with another woman, if I remember. together. So you basically walk the talk and practice what you preach and empower women in tech through your own role model. And then you discover Gig, or Gig discovers you. And through Careables, you manage to create these design processes where you have a platform with open designs and connect them from, that is being led in Berlin and has this distributed network all over the world. And then you manage to create some healthcare innovations with your community. And this is quite an impressive story. And many people would be like, what? How did that happen?
Well, I think a friend, I would say.
And why?
Basically, of course, for my family, it's been, my family wanted me to actually study IT, but then I started, And my mother wanted me as a civil engineer. My, other family members wanted for me to be in an IT sector. I somehow ended up in electronics, which I think is a really good decision that I made back then. So yeah, looking at all the decisions I've made so far, I have a friend. It's not a surprise for him. It's always been, he's been very supportive. And so whenever I share something about any incident or any achievement, I would say, it's like, yeah, I mean, that's no surprise, basically.
And why do you think he is so confident?
So I think the first thing that is would be trust. And the second thing would be like working together, learning about the sector itself, the work that's happening in, let's say, that particular ecosystem. Knowing about that environment helps to understand each other better. So basically, I would say these two reasons at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's nice. That's really nice. And wow. This was a whole other perspective of Gig. It's interesting, especially the story with your friend and the talking of trust and just knowing, of course she's going to do this and I'm not going to doubt anything she says and I'm just going to support her.
Maybe we have a title for this one. Innovation is a matter of trust.
Yeah. Could be.
Sure. Yeah. And of course, I would also like to give this. The person who would not be surprised would also be my mother. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my mother, of course. She's supportive the whole time. She's like, though she does not understand much around, what I'm trying to do, or she's like, what you can do, just do it.
I don't understand it, but I think you'll be pretty good at it. Yeah. That's great.
Whatever you do is going to be awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh. So full support from her.
Say hi to her. Amazing.
Yeah, sure. We're glad she's there.
Bring up an amazing woman.
Yes. So
thank you.
Thank you for being here with us, and thank you for the insights. Thank you for sharing your story. And it's also good to know you because with such a big network, sometimes you don't know everyone. And so me getting to know people who I just heard about but really didn't know this story is, I think for me, it's wonderful. And it's part of the reason why I wanted to do this. So,
we started
in my
this
selfish way.
Only out of self-interest.
Yeah. So thank you for talking with us.
And thank you so much for having you. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. A Moment's Portal is hosted by Daniela Marzavan and Stan Gay. Sound and editing, Dominik Grignac. Technical support, Pavel Gay. Music by Monster Logo Studios.